You wake up, you don't know what time it is. There's no clock, no phone glowing on the table, no little numbers anywhere telling you whether it's 6 a.m. or 9 a.m., or whether you've overslept and missed something important. You just open your eyes, and the only information you have about time is the color of the sky and the position of a glowing ball somewhere above the horizon. This is your entire life. Every single day, for your whole existence, and the existence of everyone you have ever known. And here's the strange part. You're not confused. You're not anxious about it. You don't feel late, because the concept of being 5 minutes late to something doesn't exist yet. Nobody is checking a watch. Nobody is tapping their foot. So how did ancient humans actually tell time? Not just roughly, but well enough to coordinate hunts, plan migrations, predict seasons, and survive in a world where showing up at the wrong moment could get you killed? The answer is that they were reading a clock the entire time. It was just enormous. It was in the sky, and it never needed batteries. Let's start with the obvious one, the sun. For most of human history, the sun wasn't just a source of light and warmth. It was the master clock, the single most important timekeeping device in existence. And ancient humans read it with a precision that would genuinely surprise you. They didn't have hours. They didn't think in 60-minute blocks, but they didn't need to. They divided the day by where the sun was and what it was doing. There was the moment the sky started to gray before sunrise, the moment the sun cleared the horizon, the point where it sat directly overhead, midday, when shadows were shortest, the long slide down toward the afternoon, and then the deepening gold of evening, when shadows stretched long across the ground, and you knew you had a limited window to get back to safety. If you've ever been camping with no phone, you've felt a fraction of this. After a couple of days, you start to instinctively know roughly what time it is just by looking up. Ancient humans had that instinct sharpened over a lifetime. They could look at the sun and the length of their own shadow and tell you, with remarkable accuracy, how much daylight they had left. And daylight left was not a casual piece of information. Daylight left was the difference between making it home and being out in the open when the things that hunt in the dark woke up. Here's something that feels almost like magic, except it's pure biology. You have a clock inside your body. Right now, it's been running your entire life, and you mostly don't notice it. It's called your circadian rhythm, and it's roughly a 24-hour internal cycle that governs when you feel sleepy, when you feel alert, when your body temperature rises and falls, and when certain hormones get released. This clock is ancient. It predates humans entirely. Almost every living thing on Earth has some version of it, because every living thing evolved on a planet that spins, creating a relentless cycle of light and dark. For ancient humans, this internal clock was finely calibrated to the sun. When light hit their eyes in the morning, a signal went to a tiny region of the brain that essentially said, "It's daytime. Wake up. Start releasing the chemicals that make you alert." As the light faded in the evening, the body began producing melatonin, the hormone that makes you drowsy. This is why ancient humans didn't need an alarm clock. Their alarm clock was the sunrise, and it was wired directly into their brain. They woke when it got light and got sleepy when it got dark, and their entire biology was built around that rhythm. And here's the slightly uncomfortable modern twist. That system is still in you. It's just that you've hijacked it. Every time you stare at a bright screen at midnight, you're sending your brain a signal that says it's still daytime. You're lying to a clock that spent millions of years learning to trust the sun. Your ancestors would be baffled that you do this voluntarily. The sun handles the day. But what about longer stretches of time? What about planning weeks ahead? For that, ancient humans looked up at night, at the moon. The moon is, in a very real sense, the first calendar humanity ever had. And it's a brilliant one because it changes in a completely predictable, highly visible cycle. A thin sliver grows into a half, then a full bright circle, then shrinks back down to nothing, and the whole cycle takes roughly 29.5 days. Anyone who pays attention, and ancient humans paid enormous attention, can use the moon to count. You can say, "We will meet again when the moon is full." You can say, "The herds come when the moon has gone dark and return twice." This gives you a way to plan and coordinate across long stretches of time without a single written number. The evidence that ancient humans tracked this is genuinely old. There are bones and stones dating back tens of thousands of years, marked with sequences of notches that many researchers believe are lunar tallies, deliberate records of the moon's phases. We can't be 100% certain what every mark means, But the pattern of marking time in counted cycles appears again and again across the ancient world, long before farming, long before cities. The word month itself comes from moon. Every time you say it, you're using a unit of time invented by people watching the sky tens of thousands of years ago. Now we get to the truly impressive part. The sun tells you the time of day, the moon tells you the passing of weeks, but the most important cycle of all for survival was the year, the seasons. Knowing when the cold was coming, when the rains would arrive, when a particular animal would migrate, when a certain plant would fruit. Getting this wrong was catastrophic. Get caught unprepared by winter and you die. Miss the migration of a key food animal and your whole group starves. So how did they predict the seasons without a calendar on the wall? They read the stars. The night sky is not random, and it is not static. As Earth orbits the sun across the year, different stars and constellations become visible at different times. Certain bright stars disappear below the horizon for part of the year, and then reappear. And crucially, those reappearances happen at the same time every single year, like clockwork. Ancient humans noticed this. They noticed that when a particular star first appeared in the dawn sky after being gone for weeks, it reliably signaled a change, the coming of the rains, or the cold, or the time to move. The star became a warning, a signpost in the sky that said, "Get ready, the season is turning." This is sophisticated. This is a group of people, with no instruments, no writing, no mathematics as we know it, observing the sky so carefully and remembering so accurately that they could use the stars to run their entire year. They turned the night sky into a survival manual. The sky was the main clock, but ancient humans were also reading time in everything around them, all the time. Animals are extraordinary timekeepers, and ancient humans paid attention. Birds sing at specific points around dawn. Certain animals are active at dusk, others deep in the night. If you know your environment intimately, and ancient humans knew theirs the way you know your own home, the behavior of animals tells you roughly where you are in the day and the night. Plants do it too. Some flowers open and close at predictable times. Trees bud, fruit, and drop their leaves on a seasonal schedule. The arrival of a particular insect, the return of a migrating bird, the first appearance of a certain blossom. Every one of these was a time signal, a page in a living calendar. Ancient humans lived inside an environment that was constantly telling them what time it was, what season it was, and what was coming next. They just had to know how to read it. And reading it was not a hobby, it was a core survival skill, learned from childhood, refined over a lifetime. Here's the thing that's genuinely hard for a modern brain to accept. Ancient humans did not measure time in small, precise units. There were no minutes, no seconds, no appointments at 3:15. And here's the part that matters. They didn't need them, and they probably didn't want them. Think about what minutes are actually for. They're for coordinating large numbers of strangers who don't share a context. You need a 9 a.m. meeting time because you and your colleagues live in different places, woke up at different moments, and have to converge precisely. Minutes are a tool for industrial life, for trains, for factories, for a world where time is money and lateness is a problem. Ancient humans lived in small groups of people who shared everything. The same camp, the same fire, the same view of the same sky. They didn't need to schedule a meeting because they were already together. They coordinated by event, not by clock. We hunt when the sun is high. We move when the star returns. We gather when the fruit ripens. Time was tied to things that actually happened in the world, not to abstract numbers ticking by. In a strange way, they had a relationship with time that many people today spend a lot of money trying to get back, through meditation retreats, digital detoxes, and camping trips where the whole point is to throw away the clock and just live by the sun again. Eventually, humans started building timekeeping devices, and this is where it gets clever. The earliest deliberate clocks were shadow clocks and sundials, a stick in the ground. As the sun moved, the shadow moved, and you could mark the ground to divide the day. It's the sun's clock, just written down where you could read it more precisely. Then came ways to measure time when there was no sun at all. Water clocks, where water dripped at a steady rate from one container to another, and you could read the level to track how much time had passed. Candles and oil lamps marked with lines that burned down at a known speed. Sand, eventually, in the hourglass. And the monuments. Some of the most famous ancient structures on Earth are, in part, gigantic timekeeping machines. Sites built so that on a specific day of the year, like the longest or shortest day, the sun rises or sets in perfect alignment with the stones. These were calendars made of rock, built by people who understood the sky well enough to freeze a single moment of the year into stone forever. That's not primitive. That's astronomy. That's people who looked up for so long and so carefully that they could predict the heavens and carve their predictions into the landscape. Strip away your phone, your watch, your laptop, the clock on your oven, and the tiny number in the corner of every screen you own. What are you left with? The exact same clock your ancestors used. The sun crossing the sky, the moon swelling and shrinking, the stars wheeling overhead with the seasons. Your own body, quietly running its ancient rhythm, getting sleepy when it's dark, whether you let it or not. Ancient humans didn't tell time worse than you. They told it differently. They read a clock so vast it filled the entire sky, and they read it well enough to survive in a world that did not forgive mistakes. You've just stopped looking up. The clock is still there. It always was. It's been running for billions of years, and bit will keep running long after the last phone battery dies. So the next time your screen is dead and you have no idea what time it is, try the old method. Look up. Find the sun. Read your shadow. Your ancestors are, in a sense, still keeping time for you. You just have to remember how to read their clock.